Hi, Mr. Gaurav. Welcome to my show. I am so glad to have you. And thank you so much for sharing out your time and traveling all the way from Delhi to Mumbai only for this episode. So, yeah, thank you so much for that.
So thank you so much, Rithvi, for having me here and seeing a different part of Mumbai. And I'm glad we could actually make our schedules align. And this is one which has been pending for a long time. And I know you had mentioned that you want to do an online versus an
Yeah.
offline, and I said offline would be a lot better. So glad that this happened, and thank you so much for having me.
So, Mr. Gaurav, I have actually read a lot about you, and your profile seems really inspiring and very interesting. And you have such a vast profile, you have done like 10,000 things to mention. Like मेरी list कम पड़ जाएगी, but आपकी चीज़ें कम नहीं हो रही हैं. It's like that. It's just growing and growing and growing. And you are one enthusiastic person. I am really interested in knowing your journey, from where did you start, from being like a small boy to being that ambitious and reaching till here. Obviously,
Sure.
without ambition, nobody reaches till here, right? And I am a big promoter of entrepreneurship and ambition, as you know,
Correct.
right? So, I would really like to know about that. Not just me, I'm sure our audience too. So,
Of
yeah,
course.
please enlighten us.
I love the part how you mentioned, about ambition and growing up. I mean, maybe I think I was six, as far back as I can remember, and I think my favorite movie at the time was Dawn. And so when everyone used to ask me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I would say a smuggler.
Oh
Because
my
that
God.
just seemed like really ambitious, at the time.
Yeah.
But I said, "What's good, bada karna hai?" So it has to be something about doing something big. And I remember getting into entrepreneurship early. I come from a family of it's a business owners family, so hence there's a lot of let's say encouragement for entrepreneurship as well. And I remember running comic book libraries and taking part in exhibitions, as helping my mother and all of that. So even before I was 10, there used to be a story writing option, which is Tinkle Comics, and they used to like publish stories, and I used to take a lot of participation. So yeah, there is a comic book that was called Tinkle, and Tinkle would give 50 rupees for every story that would get published. And I remember selling them a lot of stories. So even that was at the age of 7, 8, 9. I was 16 when I started getting into the stock market. It was 1992. Harshad Mehta and the entire piece was the rage.
Yeah.
So I remember creating a board game on the stock market, and the stock market game became quite a hit. And I used to go across the country trying to sell those games. Eventually, Neo Toys bought the rights, and they sold some 50,000 pieces. So it was just always about doing stuff. So I was just 16 when I was already into entrepreneurship. And 19 is when I started Consortium Gifts with my gifting company, which is today one of the most prominent gifting companies in the country with global contracts. But yeah, even that started from home when I was 19 years old, and that's how that journey started as well.
So, starting at such a young age, and that too, I'm sure around 92, 93, right?
That is correct. Yeah, I was 16 at 19, in 92 years. So.
I know, like starting up so young, and that too during that time, when there was like literally no exposure at all of all of these things. Like nobody knew what corporate gifting was, nobody knew what stock market is, right? So how did you gather the courage to get into all of this, and how did you convince like your parents, your family? Because I'm pretty sure that they were not very welcoming about it.
Because when I think back to the time, my family actually was pretty encouraging. I remember reaching out and saying, "Oh, I want to do something in the stock market." Like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to become a stockbroker, because again, I thought that was very fashionable
The
at
hit
the time.
thing, yeah, the hit thing.
So I remember with the Delhi Stock Exchange, and I'm looking around, and it didn't seem, like that happening. So I'm like, okay, this is not what I want to do. And so then I said, I'm going to start, trading stocks, and and this is yeah, go ahead and do that. And of course, at the age of 16, I wasn't even legally allowed to have a bank account.
Yeah.
So playing the stock market by virtue of the stock market game just seemed to be the right thing, and that's how that piece of the journey really started. The gifting thing was very interesting because I was 19 years old. I was in the first year of college, and life in Delhi was one big party. We used to hang out at all the nightclubs and like the Oasis,
All the
the
happening
Bungalows, and all the
places.
happening places. And one day my dad comes home, and he'd actually been defrauded by a family member.
Okay.
And he said, "Let's go for a walk." And we went on that walk, and he was telling me that we're actually now bankrupt. And when you come from a family which is traveled the world, had access to a lot of things growing up, and you find out that you have nothing, it hits you pretty hard. And I'm like, "Do you want me to go out there and get a job?" And he's like, "There are some people who do jobs, and there's some people who create jobs. Is you the latter? So he said, I'm sure you'll figure it out. And one thing led to another, and that's how the gifting piece actually started. I used to work out, at a gym at the time, and I was one day wearing these weightlifting gloves which a friend from America had brought, and the coach walks by. He said, "Nice gloves. I wish we had something like that in India." And just like that, I said, "Okay, maybe we should start making these gloves." And then we started, then looking for people who could make those gloves. Found this one guy in Delhi who could make them. But this guy, while he made gloves, he also made mouse pads with company logos. It was now, mid 90s, Y2K was coming, all the software companies were kind of growing. And he said, why do you make mouse pads? I think you'll make more money. And so the first promotional product that we did in the gifting space was actually making mouse pads. And that's how that journey began.
So yeah, like you said, coming from a great background and then again like a downfall and then getting back up. I'm sure, like you said that your family was really encouraging. And they were the ones who actually pushed you to decide that what you want to really do in life, right? But not every individual or not every youth in this country or maybe around the globe also don't get these kind of opportunities to even decide for themselves,
Sure.
right? So do you think is that something which has helped you develop into a much better person or a much better entrepreneur today? And is it the same qualities that you have inculcated within these many years that you developed your character as a leader? And is that all of that cumulatively that you keep on transforming in your students at the 10x, boot camps or at your academy as well?
Right. So interesting set of questions. And if I go back to the time, like when you mentioned earlier, that was a time where parents weren't encouraging entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Today it's a very different time. If I said I started at 16, today the kids at 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like my daughter, she's doing something when she was 11 and it was already, entrepreneurial. So today kids are starting a lot earlier. At that time, definitely not. In fact, there are so many friends that I have, whose parents didn't let them follow their, let's say dreams or passions or, whatever their interests were.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a bit of bitterness, maybe they were pushed into doing something they're not really, very happy doing. So even today, all those years later, they're not really in the happiest of spaces and they, blame their parents. I think for me, the credit does go to my parents.
Yes.
Like I said, if I said I want to be a stockbroker, they're like, be a stockbroker. If I said I want to be a professional poker player, they're like, okay, go ahead and do that as well. So whatever I really picked, they're like, okay, we're not going to tell you, but we want you to sort it out and, see that for yourself. And I think for anyone who's, watching this and listening in, I think it's very important that, if your children, nieces and nephews, if they have a particular passion, let them pursue it.
Yeah.
And I think they might surprise you in terms of how things, would eventually play out for you. Even when I today, as a coach, and trainer and Cardone licensee in India, teaching, the 10x piece.
Yeah.
Now everyone thinks 10x is actually a number, but 10x is a mindset.
Exactly.
Right? So once you come in with that, the attitude and the mindset, everything else will fall into place. So it's very important, to be someone, who really does go out there and if you have women a fancy, just go for it.
So like you said, parents should be encouraging, right? And but here I have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, I really want you to explain what exactly is 10x, right? Like you said, it is not just a number; it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Right? People who come at the boot camps
Sure.
at 10x or at your academy
Right.
as well, right? Do you think that India today is having that mindset shift or is it yet to happen, right? Because जैसे आपने बोला कि आज भी okay, entrepreneurship is really fantasized today. It is a lonely journey, you know it, I know it.
Correct.
Right? A lot of us know it.
Yeah.
Yes, back then it was not very well encouraged.
Correct.
But people who started back then,
Yeah.
so many of them lost in the race,
Oh, 100%.
right?
Yeah.
And when they look at someone like you, or if they come across your videos or
Right,
Ben Cardone's videos, right? That is where they start feeling like, oh yeah, I should have given it one more chance, right? Like why didn't I try one more time?
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted to explain a bit about that. And
Sure.
what about the mindset shift that has happened, or maybe what you have seen, like before you started and now, how has it been?
So you bring up some great points there, and I just want to say that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, right? And 10x as a mindset will, however, apply to everyone. Now, I don't encourage entrepreneurship. entrepreneurship, for everyone. And there are a lot of people who today on, let's say, Instagram or YouTube and all the places, they'll always tell everyone, oh, everyone can be an entrepreneur and it's guaranteed to be an entrepreneur. Now, you and I both know as entrepreneurs that there is, a very long success curve. 25-30% of companies may not even make it past 2 years. Maybe 50% won't make it past, even 5. 85% of all companies that have taken the path of entrepreneurship, probably still struggle to break, even or make the kind of money they would have in a job even maybe 10 years later.
Yeah.
Right? So the point is just when everyone comes and says, oh, be an entrepreneur, follow your passion, drop whatever you're doing and just join this journey, follow me and everything, and you'll be just like me. Unfortunately, that's a whole lot of bull, right? So it's not going to work out. But I also tell people that not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, but you have an option of being an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. And what happens in an entrepreneur is, let's say you're working for an organization, and in that organization you decide that, okay, I'm going to take ownership of this particular vertical, this particular department, grow that one as well. So what happens is that within the organization, as an entrepreneur, okay, you're making yourself so valuable, to the organization, to the management, to the the owners, of the leaders, that then you start building up, for yourself, this entire piece where you become invaluable, and you're an entrepreneur without actually being an entrepreneur. There's no risk involved because the risk is still being taken up, by the owners, shareholders, stakeholders, right? But you're still an entrepreneur in that particular space. So I highly encourage entrepreneurship over entrepreneurship. Okay, like I said, your bases are covered, it's lower risk, and the reward is crazy, right? And as that organization grows, I mean, who knows? Tomorrow you could be, a stakeholder. There could be, stock options. There could be a listing in the markets, and then your value in that grows. So it's a far better way of doing it, right? So again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and I don't even encourage the path. It's a lonely journey, right? You've seen it in terms of the sacrifices. I remember when I was in college and my friends were going out for movies and they were heading out, for bowling alleys and stuff. And I had no choice. I was sitting in, the back alleys of, Sadar Bazaar and Chandni Chowk and trying to figure out, why the printing wasn't happening properly, and, industrial areas like Mayapuri and Okhla. So, lonely journey, okay? And today everyone would say, oh, GB, you have arrived and your company has global contracts and, offices around the country and great people, great respect.
Yeah.
But the amount of sacrifice that has gone, behind that,
Exactly.
I think that's something that, people don't really see. I'm not saying that people won't be capable of putting that in, but I'm just saying that there are better ways of actually doing it. Coming to the point of 10x, what did you mention when you said, okay, what really is 10x? So, a lot of people now, and again, you see a lot of these people on Insta and YouTube that say, oh, 10x, we'll 10x your sales, 20x your sales, 30x your sales. Now, the first thing is 10x is the goalpost. Okay, so when you hit that 10x, then the goalpost moves and you have to 10x that and you have to 10x that. So 10x never stops. The other day I did a boot camp in Delhi and this lady came and she says, "Aap 10x क्यों करा रहे हो? 20x क्यों नहीं करा रहे हो?" I'm like, it's a goalpost that'll keep moving. Okay, it's supposed to be your x and you hit 10x, the 10x then moves and then you got 10x, that 10x. But now also talking about, when I say 10x is a mindset, and of course, 10x is Grant Cardone's methodology. Grant Cardone has been a coach and a mentor. We met for the first time in 2018. He was coaching my gifting company in 2017. We did great. We did a case study on Cardone University, the website as well. And when I finally met him, he put this proposal on the table saying that, okay, tomorrow if I was to die, no one will even know me outside, America, Canada, parts of Mexico. So who takes my message to the world? Now I was convinced, A, I've been selling all my life. B, it was something that I related to. And C, the Cardone methodology is about giving, not taking. The Cardone methodology is about serving. Okay, so it's about, it's just aligned with a lot of things that were aligned with my values, and that's how we took it forward. So when I say 10x is a mindset, okay, 10x is living a life without limitations, where you say anything is possible. So when you said, oh, you're running so many companies and what happens, I'm like, I'm not even started, I'm not even scratching the surface. In my organization, I'm possibly the biggest bailer. Okay, I have too much free time on my hands, and I tell my team all the time, I'm like, use me better, make me do more. We're always open to more and more opportunities, newer businesses and more. So 10x is about just a mindset where more is possible. B, 10x is also about the fact that you want to go from point A to point B, and you think the amount of effort that's required is X. Okay, but in reality, आपको उससे 10 गुना ज़्यादा effort, 10 गुना ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ेगा.
Correct.
Okay, so 10x is about putting in 10 times the amount of effort to achieve that one thing that you want. And the reason why people fail is because they underestimate the amount of effort that they need to take, okay, to make that thing happen. So that is a big reason why people fail, and the reason is that they're not applying the 10x rule.
Yeah. So there is this clip which I came across, which also says that you should never make the pinnacle of a mountain your goal, right? You always have to keep going there, right? Like how you mentioned, you know, every set of goal is a 10x set of you know the sets that you are
Correct.
taking
Correct.
over there, the steps that you are taking there, right? So if I reach from A to B, I have to again go from B to C. Again, I have to go from
Of
C
course.
to D,
Of course.
right? I have to keep going. I cannot be like, okay, मुझे यहाँ तक आना था, हो गया मेरा, I'm done, right? So you should always be like, you know, seeking out there. You should always be reaching out there. You should never say, okay, man, I've reached or I've arrived, or like, you know. And most of the times it happens like, I don't know if it's a universal myth or maybe it's just like a faux pas or something, or it's just like a superficial belief that people have, that once you say that, okay, I've arrived, everything starts crashing down. Right?
Completely agree.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say about that?
You know, the point is, you can never ever get comfortable. You can never ever believe that I've arrived. The whole beauty of 10x is that the goalpost, as I mentioned, keeps moving.
Yeah.
So you were, let's say, doing a crore, you get to 10. Okay, now it's about 10xing the 10. So, you know, getting from 10 to 100, from 100 to 1,000. And that's just the monetary aspect. And then it's also about the quality of life that you have, the quality of life that you have with your family,
Correct.
the health that you have, you know, the amount that you give back to, let's say, causes, you know, the amount that you give back to your people, your staff members. So if you ever get comfortable, okay, that is truly where your downfall will begin. You know, GC will always say that, you know, go massive or you'll go passive.
Yeah.
Okay, and passive for me is dead on an ECG
Yes.
machine. You know, so when you have flatline, so what happens is, anytime we've seen this, you know, in the past, like if you look at historical examples, you know, corporate, or even look at even, you know, rulers of, you know, various, you know, countries. As soon as, you know, people became complacent, okay, the downfall began. So you can never ever stop. It's just about, you know, keep going, keep going, keep going. Like they say, you know, like it up, high. It's just like it up, right? You can't stop, because the day you stop is the day you start declining, and you know, it's only a matter of time before whatever you put together, it's actually all going to go. So there is no stopping in the 10x mindset.
Yeah. So since we're speaking about 10x and entrepreneurship and leadership, right? I have seen some of your reels and, you know, some content of yours where you speak majorly about sales, right? And we know it that sales is the most important skill one must have, irrespective of entrepreneurship or not, right? But, you know, trying to understand sales or wanting to learn sales, it comes as an ego barrier for a lot of people,
Sure.
right? कि मैं sales क्यों करूँ? And I have come across this
Of course.
quite a lot, right? Like I hire all the young talent in the
Correct.
world,
Correct.
and everyone is like, मैं sales क्यों करूँ? मैं salesman थोड़ी हूँ, मुझे क्यों सीखना है sales?
Yeah.
मैं तो लोगों को काम पे लाया, even if like I have had like entrepreneur friends also,
Sure.
even they used to be like, कि मैं क्यों सीखूँ? Like I know when I started purely on this one skill. That I know sales, I know marketing.
Correct.
I will outsource other skills, but I cannot outsource sales and marketing because I know that very well. I know how money will come,
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Other stuff, technical stuff, I can outsource them, those stuff, right? Like say if at all tomorrow, or maybe if I have a friend who's into manufacturing business,
Right.
right? Now he's not going to go and sit there and get the machines rolling and get the product out by himself, right? But to talk or to get the deal done, he will have to understand the sales part, right? So my question to you, you know, is: have you come across people like this, like who are like, I don't need this. Why are you pitching me this, right? Or maybe it's different age groups also.
All
that
the
you
time.
come
All the
across,
time.
yeah.
You know, she's 100% right. And I think, and we're in Mumbai, and you know, this is of course Bollywood. I think the one movie that has done the biggest disservice to sales, the profession, okay, the Ranbir when he did Rocket Singh Salesman was here, when you know he's telling his friends, मुझे और कुछ नहीं मिला, इसलिए मैं sales के अंदर घुस गया.
Yeah.
Right? He says that in the movie.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if you don't figure out this thing called sales, okay, आपकी जेब बिल्कुल खाली रहेगी.
खाली
So it's very, very important that you need to get this out. And you mentioned ego. So while I say yes, ego is something that comes into play as well. I think the biggest issue that comes up with people is fear. The fear of rejection. Okay, the fear of being, typecast as someone, sleazy. Like a lot of times they'll say, "अरे sales का अपना तो वो होता है जो गंजे को कंघी बेचता है." Now there was a perception where a salesperson is the kind of person who sells snake oil or sells air conditioning to an Eskimo or a comb to a bald person. And the reason why I love the Cardone philosophy, and of course what we bring to the table at the GBA as well, sales is about serving, okay, not selling. Sales is about, as I mentioned, giving, not receiving. So there will be fears, okay, there will be fears of all these things. There will be fear of rejection, there will be fear of hearing no, there will be fear of putting in a lot of hard work. But like Ritik says in the Mountain Dew ad, "Dar ke aage jeet hai," right? So you have to confront those fears. You have to overcome them. And sales is not only about making a commercial, tangible transaction of goods and services. Sometimes sales is about getting that girl or that guy to like you. Even that's a sale. Okay, letting your parents let you go out on Saturday night. Even that's a sale. Let's say you run an organization and you, as HR, you're looking to onboard people, and those people have many options. So even as HR, you're selling a dream, you're selling your company. So selling is so all-encompassing. Let's say you're going out with your friends, okay, and your friends want to eat Indian food, you want to eat Chinese food, you convince them to eat Chinese food. At that point, even you sold them, right? So the point being this, that the entire, gamut of what sales includes is just so large, and I think people have to overcome, this fear of that. Also, just know this, that today in the world that we live in the world of AI and the entire whatever's happening in the machine learning space and all of that, a lot of jobs are threatened. Digital marketing, okay, a lot of things going down. Video creation. I mean, people aren't even hiring anymore in video because they're not sure what's going to happen when the next version of ChatGPT comes. Graphic designers. I mean, today Adobe is creating so much, and DALL-E is creating so much that all of these, careers, programmers, Python guys, code writers. I mean, ChatGPT is coming and wiping these guys out.
Yeah.
Sales, okay, will still require people who need boots on the ground, going out, meeting people online, offline, shaking hands, sharing a cup of coffee, right? So sales is actually a career, okay, which has, delivered phenomenal, riches for people who practice it. And we're going back now, even to the times of the spice route, when you have people from India traveling through Central Asia and towards Europe, even then and even today, and this is not going away. So anyone who's listening to this, okay, consider Korean sales, because you're not going to be extinct, you're not going to be wiped out by AI, not as yet anyways. Don't fear sales, okay, dar ke aage jeet hai. Whatever commentary you've been told by whoever, they just haven't been taught right.
Yeah.
Okay, and the truth is, think about it, when you were in school and you hated math or you hated chemistry or you hated Hindi, any subject, the reason probably was that you had a teacher who was not the best.
Not the great, yeah.
And because you didn't understand it, you're like, ये तो मुझे समझ नहीं आता, ये तो नहीं करना, ये तो बेकार है. So exactly the same thing is happening. No one teaches sales the way it ought to be. And again, like I said, it was a great mentor, that I've had in Grant, and what we bring to the academy. We've today trained thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, working professionals, hundreds of companies. Some of the biggest companies in the country come to us for sales training. And they walk away and they say, यार हम 25 साल से सेल्स कर रहे थे और हमको लग रहा है कि हम गलत कर रहे थे, because we just open their mind to a whole different dimension altogether. So again, don't fear sales. Sales is critical. If we have to become a $5 trillion economy, if we have to become Viksit Bharat, okay, it's going to happen by salespeople. Okay, so salespeople are what actors and writers are to Bollywood. It's exactly the same way. What priests are to the temple. Okay, that's what salespeople are to the economy. We're not going away. It's only going to get bigger and better. Accept it, do something about it, and get better with it.
Like you mentioned, डरना नहीं है लोगों ने, and they have this fear of rejection, right? But I feel more than rejection, the youth today. I'm not talking about like the 35 plus people out there who have been there and done that.
Okay.
But the youth today has A, very less attention span, B, very less patience. So, and when I say that ego, right? Sales is equal to an ego barrier, right? So, ego barrier तो मुझे लगता है वो बहुत बाद में आता है, पहले उनको patience level ही नहीं होता है, right? So, what do you have to think? What do you have to say about that?
So there've been so many instances. I mean, we've worked with so many people, so many industries, and even struggling entrepreneurs. And one case that was a pretty also a hilarious conversation that happened. So this is a company that was struggling quite a bit. We started working with them. They started implementing, and one day the promoter's father, that he calls and he says, "Gaurav beta, मुझे तो tension हो रही है." I'm like, "Uncle, tension क्यों हो रही है?" He's like, "मुझे लग रहा है हमारे ऊपर income tax की rate पड़ जाएगी." He says, इतना पैसा कमा रहे हैं हम कि हमें लग रहा है कि हमें government हमें देख रही होगी और income tax की rate हो जाएगी. And I said, I told him, listen, I said, the number that you're getting to now, I know it's overwhelming in the sense that they really jumped up a lot, but I think there's one thing that you have to be assured of, that there will be no income tax rate. I said, just do your work, ethically and more.
Yeah.
So that's one instance that stood out. There have been cases where there have been people who've been selling for 25 years, okay, like career salespeople, and then they walk out of our sessions and they're done, and they're like, हमें लग रहा था कि हम 25 साल से बिल्कुल गलत कर रहे थे. And like अगर हमें आपका जो content है, if we had access to this earlier, we would be in a far bigger, better place. So there's been so many, and every time someone would come back and they'd say that it was a game changer. My life changed. We have more contracts in within the country, around the world. So there's just so many stories. But I think that this one's funny when someone calls and says, "मुझे लग रहा है कि income tax की rate हो जाएगी क्योंकि हम इतना पैसा कमा रहे हैं." And I'm like, wow, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And the truth is that money flows attention. We spoke a little bit earlier about sales and marketing. Now, sometimes there's confusion in people's mind, in terms of the difference between sales and marketing. Right? While it's two sides of the same coin, like a coin has heads and tails. So sales and marketing is two sides of the same coin, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? And the good part is, once you're making more sales, it's very, very important to get that attention towards you. And marketing is what you have to do that. And of course, once you're investing more in marketing, there'll be more in sales, and once you have more sales, you have more money for marketing. So it's a great cycle and circle to have.
But do you also think that this is a mindset shift that really happens to people after they attend boot camps and everything?
Oh, 100%. Like we spend so much time, even talking about how you need to work on like a 10x life across all aspects of your life. So it's not only sales as in work, but it's also in terms of your lifestyle, it's in terms of your health, in terms of your mental space, in terms of gratitude. We spend so much time talking about attitude, right? And there's a 12-step road to the sale, and the first step is actually attitude. And sometimes people will be like, "Are your attitude ki zyada baat kyun kar rahe hain?" But then what happens is they get it. By the time you finish day 2, they'll be like, "Okay, now we see why." And sometimes when you ask people what is your biggest takeaway, they're like, the mindset piece. Because the tools is something that anyone can teach you. Okay, but the mindset space, that's a game changer. And it's just amazing to see the success stories that we have, the game changing shares that come later, testimonials that come later. I think that's the most gratifying.
Speaking of mindset shifts, right? So we started this podcast with your story, right? And you said that you wanted to become a don, who wanted to do smuggling and all of that stuff, right? I'm pretty sure that your ambition has shifted. Not ambition, but yeah, your ambition was to be the greatest, right? To be the best out there. Ambition never changes, what I feel. Ambition never changes, it's just that the mindset shifts. And it helps us just to be a better person. Right? Do you have anything to say? Like, what was your shift from there till today?
Yeah, I love that question, and it's something that no one's really asked me before on a podcast, and I've been on many, so thank you for that. So yes, I mean, growing up, like I said, really moved by the movie Dawn, and hence it was about being this smuggler guy, and being super rich and all of that stuff.
Being important.
Yeah.
I think what fascinated you was being important.
Perhaps, yeah. And then I think, in due course, once the gifting piece started, maybe around 2012, I said we want to be like Asia's largest gifting company. Right now we're saying, okay, we want to be one of Asia's top sales training companies.
Yeah.
But recently, I was at a workshop and I was thinking about what would be we call it the HBV, like the highest best version of yourself. Like when it's time to hang up your boots and kind of look back and so what would be that one thing that you achieved? And I want to share something which I've never shared anywhere else. Okay, like very few people actually know this. It's probably in my goal planner, but not very many places. And I said okay, my ambition would be to be the Prime Minister of India.
Oh,
so on the 15th of August 2041, I put on a date, okay, be the Prime Minister. And that's crazy. I'm like, we'll see. Like, who knows? We have a few years to go, and of course, as somebody once said that there perhaps would be political ambitions. So I just think that what bigger contribution could there be
Yeah.
in terms of giving back to the country and giving back to the people and everything
Yeah.
else. So we'll see. So yeah, I think that's probably what it is right now.
Yeah, जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि आपके ज़बान पर 24 घंटे में से एक बार तो सरस्वती पूजा आती है, तो we never know, we will play this clip back then. Okay, we are speaking to the future Prime Minister of India, so okay, if at all I have to see you with that perspective, right? I really want to know from your perspective that where do you see Indian youth in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Right? Because yes, today we spoke about a lot of things, right? We spoke about ambition, we spoke about patience, persistence, hard work, fear of rejection, everything, right?
Yeah.
According to me, with the current scenarios, whatever is happening in the geopolitical scene, India is again going to take more than 50 years to be completely, fully developed country, to be termed as a completely developed country. And a lot of that development happens from the core side of a human being, from an Indian's core, right? How much are we willing to do certain things,
Sure.
right? Like you said, like quick get rich schemes,
Correct.
right? But I'm not offending anyone here, but yes, a lot of us are very much fascinated by quick rich schemes, right? So unless and until these things they don't go off, I think they will always stay. But how are we framing ourselves as the next big country in the world, right? So what do you have to say about that?
So I think your viewers and listeners would agree that India's time on the world stage has arrived again. If we go back 6, 8, 10 years, we were perceived as something very differently. And I travel a lot globally. I do a lot of business deals around the world. And there was a time where people would actually have an aversion to India. They'd be like, India के साथ काम नहीं करना. And I'm like, क्यों नहीं काम करना? They're like, यार नहीं यार, Indian चोर होते हैं. Okay, true things that I've actually heard back in the day. And today is very different. Today people are like, अच्छा India से हो, how can we work with you, right? So I think that is one big shift that's happened, and I think all credit to the current political establishment that they've done a great job in terms of marketing this country.
Yeah.
I think that's happened really, really well. Also, if you look at around the world, what's happening in the UK, negative growth. What's happening in the US, I mean chaos, right? What's happening here is whole different world. Fastest growing economy in the world, zero chance for recession. Okay, and the point is, yes, while we have some people who still may have the get rich quick scheme, that mentality, there are others who are willing to put in the hard work. Okay, small town India today, has people who are coming and बहुत भूखे होंगे. Right, and they're like, boss, हमें कुछ करना है. Okay, and that could be again, like I said, as an entrepreneur, it could be like an entrepreneur. Okay, even in the jobs that they're doing, like कुछ बड़ा करना है. So I love the mindset that people have. Okay, and yet sometimes we come across certain people and we say, अरे यार इसका कुछ नहीं होगा. But again, never ever typecast someone as a particular type. They may surprise you. Sometimes it is by aspiration and sometimes by desperation.
So do you think that there is lack of opportunity or there is lack of knowledge?
So definitely no lack of opportunity, okay, and the point is, it's just that I think there's a lack of people willing to go out and grab that opportunity, right? A lot of people are thinking it's going to fall in my lap. I don't have to go out and prospect. I don't have to go out and do something. If there's one thing that everyone needs to do, not just salespeople, is prospect. Okay, prospect to get more opportunities, prospect to get more people, prospect for everything. So prospecting is very, very important as well. So I think again it boils down to the mindset piece, nothing more than that. India has a very bright future. Okay, and using 50 years to become Viksit Bharat, I'd say probably not as long as that. We've now set in place and set in play a chain of events now where I just think things are going to happen a lot faster for us. There was a time when India was called Sone Ki Chiriya and all of that. It's happening again. I think we're ahead of the Chinese in terms of momentum at this point. Of course, China has got 20 years of head start. But we have momentum, we have a lot of positivity, we have the mindset, of growth, and big things are going to happen. And I think it's only a matter of time before we find our rightful place as the top 2 and top 3 in the world economy. It's only a matter of time.
Well, that's a lovely thought process that you have for our country and for the youth. But I want to ask you from a very personal perspective that you as a person, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, I love that question. And again, it's something that will mean different things to different people.
Yes.
I think for me, success is on various parameters. But if I was to take, let's say, in the space of the relations that I have, with my family near and dear ones, I think it would just be about the fact that, we have an equation which is one of respect and love and admiration for each other. So I'd say that would probably be one aspect. The second is to have people, people in our organizations, people in even directly or indirectly connected to us, just looking up and saying, okay, this is a person, who did good. This is a person who had the right intention, who was someone who was in integrity, someone who would be remembered for not someone, who just came and left or make an impact, but someone who left a footprint that will be remembered for generations. Someone who creates a legacy. And I think those are important, insights. Anyone can make money, but can you have touched the lives of tens of thousands, if not millions of others, and made an impact on their life, where for whom you will always be remembered and cherished? I think that would be successful.
So this kind of answer actually comes quite often from people who have really worked hard and who are actually into the people's business, right? They know, they speak, they have understood people's minds so well,
Right.
and they know the power of transformation,
Yeah.
right? They know the power of words, they know the power of storytelling, right? And that is where I think you and me also connected. We're on the same grounds, right? So yeah, very well said. And thank you so much for sharing out your time. And I think today's episode I really enjoyed, and I'm sure our listeners or viewers have also, because it was so insightful. Like, I don't see even a single blank space out there where we have almost covered all the points that we could in our infrastructure.
No, I just want to compliment you, for the great work that you're doing. As you rightly said, it's important for stories that people have.
Yeah.
They should be told, and you're doing phenomenal work. And just keep it going. Brings me back to the days when I was starting out, and there was a lot of hustle, and I think you have that spirit in you as well. So just keep it going, and I'm sure that your podcast and everything else that you're building in the space of marketing and PR will be recognized as one of the front runners, and it's only going to be a matter of time. So keep up the great work, and
Thank you
wishing
so
you all the
much.
best for the future.
Thank you so much.